What if the toxic mother-in-law videos that finally make you feel seen are actually making you feel sick? I mean, you click on them to feel less crazy, less alone, and in the moment, honestly, it kind of feels good. But underneath that hit of validation, something much more serious is happening that no one is warning you about. 3 things are going to happen in today's episode. First, you're going to find out which of the 4 types of mother-in-laws you're actually dealing with, and when we get to yours, you're going to know it instantly. Second, I'm going to pull back her outer layer and I'm going to show you what's really going on inside of her brain. And this is the part that changes everything for the women I work with. It will stop your mother-in-law from being able to ruin your Sunday from 2 towns away. Third, I'm going to tell you what staying this angry at your mother-in-law is actually doing to you, not her, and why it matters more than you think. Diving into type number 1, the mother-in-law whose emotional age is stuck around 3 years old. And if you have this mother-in-law, what you're about to learn will change a lot. Meet Volcano Vicki. She is our emotional mother-in-law. She's a middle-aged woman with an emotional brain of a toddler, which if you're a parent, you know how big feelings can get for our 3-year-olds. And that's because the part of their brain that helps us pause, calm down, and think before we act, it's not developed yet. I can think of so many examples when I would be having a perfect day with my son. He's treating me like his favorite person in the world. And just like that, if he didn't get his way or I said no to another gravedigger truck when we were on our grocery trip haul at Target, he's down on the floor flopping like a fish. And that's a toddler for you. Like, he can't help it. But thankfully, over time, my husband Ryan and I, we modeled for him how to regulate his emotions by mirroring back to him his feeling, like what he's feeling inside, whether it's frustration, sadness, anger, in a calm way, and he grew out of that stage. On the flip side, Volcano Vicki, she had the same outbursts as our son, but her parents didn't co-regulate with her. They amplified her big feelings. They actually screamed back at Vicki. So she never learned that her feelings could be managed or self-soothed. Now, as an adult, maybe even a grandma, Volcano Vicki, she does not contain her emotions. When she's sad, everyone knows it. When she's happy, you're her favorite person. And when you say no, it feels like she hates you. Women with this type of mother-in-law, they tell me all the time that it feels like you're walking around on eggshells, which is beyond exhausting, and it feels like nonsense, especially when you don't know that she's working with an emotional brain of a young child. You're like, why in the heck do I have to manage a grown woman's emotions like she's a 3-year-old? One woman said to me that her mother-in-law cried at every single holiday. Without a doubt, no fail, whether it would be a dish that didn't turn out, someone left too early, or kids that didn't show enough appreciation for these special baskets that she made for them. Inevitably, her mother-in-law would end up in tears. Another daughter-in-law shared with me that her mother-in-law notoriously would send her 3-paragraph guilt trip text messages after 10 o'clock at night every single time she set a limit. Or, and this is very common, one client highly considered her mother-in-law bipolar because her mother-in-law would be her biggest fan one week, telling everybody how amazing she was. And in the next visit, she would be cold and weird. And this woman just had no idea what changed with her. Volcano Vicki is very sweet, but she's also draining, just like a toddler. One minute she's totally fine, and the next she's having a full-blown meltdown over something that makes 0 sense. And the part that probably messes with your head the most if you have this type of mother-in-law is how crazy all over the place she can be, but in the next day, and sometimes it doesn't even take that long, she can act like nothing ever happened. A client told me that her mother-in-law would switch moods so fast that she would still be buzzing, totally shocked, just like shook up about whatever her mother-in-law had just said or done to her. And within a minute, she would just be sending her cute memes like it was complete madness. But hopefully this madness starts to help you make more sense of this if you just start imagining inside your mother-in-law's emotional brain is a toddler controlling the levers, kind of like the Inside Out movie. The majority of videos that we binge on TikTok about toxic mother-in-laws, they tend to confuse Volcano Vicki's behaviors with narcissistic rage, emotional manipulation, and they think that she's doing it on purpose, which makes us feel like, oh my gosh, we have to be careful. We need to create distance. We have to have really firm boundaries. We might even have to cut her off. I mean, she's a narcissist after all. Not so fast. There is a huge difference between Volcano Vicki and a true narcissist. Someone who meets the clinical criteria to be diagnosed with NPD, they use emotions like a weapon. It's more strategic than what Vicki has the capacity for. Like, she's not that sophisticated, she's flooded. But to the untrained eye, and you won't be this after this video, it can look all the same because all the mother-in-law types, they have impaired empathy, they can't self-reflect, they struggle to put themselves in your shoes, and they are really, really self-focused. What about me? So when Vicki feels bad, it's not because she hurt you, it's because she's uncomfortable with the fact that you're looking at her like she's the bad guy. You'll hear her say things like, I can't believe you would think this poorly of me, or I guess I'm just a horrible mom, which instantly shifts your focus away from your own pain and onto her need for reassurance. Volcano Vicki repairs after conflict by sending a gift rather than having a conversation and taking accountability, or she will send overly affectionate text messages. She'll be really, really helpful, and people consider this, and I would too, I will consider this as love bombing, but it's not malicious like a lot of people like to think it is. It is their way of reestablishing connection fast, and that's what they need. They need to feel like you are connected to them. She's also really good at deflecting, denying, and not taking any accountability. She'll say things like, well, if you weren't so sensitive, I wouldn't have had to say such a thing, which again, it sounds really narcissistic, but it's not. It's arrested development. For me, sitting with Volcano Vicki, it feels like chaos. And if I'm sitting with a true narcissist that would meet criteria, I feel like it's very calculated. So with Vicki, I'm on edge. Just like when I'm at Target with my toddler, it's past his nap time and I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm holding my breath. She feels messy and all over the place. But if I were with a narcissist, I would feel small, confused, maybe a little hollowed out, kind of like I'm being played. And Vicki's moods are genuine, just like a child. When she's crying, she's sad in that moment. And then if she sees a cute puppy 5 minutes later and smiles, she's actually happy. Whereas with a narcissist, their outbursts are very strategic, and here's their tell. They can be raging and then the doorbell rings and they instantly switch to becoming charming again. And that switch, that proves that this was all a performance for control. Vicki acts like the blow-ups never happened. She has emotional amnesia, but a narcissist, they will bring it back up to remind you that you need to be afraid of ever upsetting them again. Another thing to be aware of when you watch those videos that label Vicki wrong, it starts to color the way that you see her, and she can feel that. She can actually sense that hint of rejection, and that's going to make her react more to you, and it kind of just kicks off a negative cycle. Now, don't worry, we are going to talk about what will help in a minute, but this is just the first type. We have 3 more types of mother-in-laws to talk about, and the next one, she doesn't cry. You would never call her emotional, and she's the one who can make you feel like nothing you do will ever be good enough. Allow me to introduce you to critical Cathy. Mother-in-law type number 2, and her emotional brain is in between the ages of 7 and 9. Imagine a kid growing up in a home where her mom is a go-getter. Maybe she's a local politician, so the child is an extension of her mom's brand. And this kid only gets affirmation when she behaves, achieves, and she's the good girl. I mean, kids are real smart. It doesn't take them long to put 2 and 2 together. If I do a good job, I'm okay. If I mess up, I'm nothing. So critical Cathy learned that she's loved when she performs, and people approve of her when she's good, works hard, and does all the right things. But if she messes up, if she's not perfect, love goes away and she's all alone. Fast forward, and critical Cathy has a little boy, and she's still following that little rule book. And her son now becomes an extension of herself, and his success is now a reflection on her. When that son marries, he's going to make some changes that are going to threaten Cathy's identity as a mom and her position as like the primary woman in his life. So she's going to try to reestablish ownership and her proper place by controlling everything. One client said that her mother-in-law literally had a better way to do everything. Cooking, laundry, weeding the garden, organizing your kitchen, even bagging groceries. It's not just help. This is her defense mechanism. By fixing you, she's actually trying to quiet her own internal anxiety that things aren't being done the right way. And this is the only way that she can feel safe. So if your kitchen is messy or if you parent differently, it means that she has failed in her own life's work. Isn't that sad? I mean, this is totally out of her control, but she has no idea. Another client shared with me that her mother-in-law's classic start to every sentence is, "Well, I'm just trying to help, dear. I mean, when my kids were little, I used to." And you never really know Cathy because she never developed a true self. She's always been a performer searching for approval. And as an adult, she's still on that quest, trying to make everything, including her son's marriage, perfect. Women with this type of mother-in-law often say they can't exhale, like they cannot relax because they're just waiting for the next jab. And you can probably guess why the daughter-in-laws making videos on TikTok call her a narcissist. It's the way that she tries to control everything. She feels very entitled, superior, like her way is the best and only way, and she actually gets personally offended by your independence. But again, there is a difference between perfectionism and superiority. So with critical Cathy, you feel like a student failing a class you didn't even know you were taking, like you're being judged against some standard. But a narcissist makes you feel like a servant failing its master. There's actually no standard with a narcissist because they keep moving the goalpost wherever they need just to make sure you're always beneath them. Whereas Cathy, she actually does want things done right. That's why she's anxious. And if you do things her way, the correct way, she usually relaxes and stops nagging. Not with a narcissist. They want you to do it their way because they need you to submit. Even if you do exactly what they ask you, they'll find a new reason to prove to you why it's wrong. Seeing critical Cathy for who she is and understanding why she does what she does doesn't mean that her critiques don't hurt you, and it doesn't mean that you don't get to have boundaries. The clarity just helps, and I bet you're already feeling that shift happen right now. All right, we've already met Volcano Vicki, who erupts to get attention and connection, and critical Cathy nitpicks in order to get validation and hopefully approval. But there's a third mother-in-law type who never raises her voice, never insults you, and still leaves you feeling totally unsupported. That's passive Patty. And she's tricky because she can look like the safest person in the world until you need her. Mother-in-law type number 3, the vanishing mother-in-law, and her emotional age is between 10 and 12 years old. All right, think of a 5th grader who grows up in a home where her parents fight dirty. So she sees her parents start to argue, she escapes to her bedroom, puts on her headphones, and she never picks a side. She just wants the fighting to stop. Unfortunately, this happened to passive Patty, and she learned that it's safer to be neutral and not pick a side, so hopefully no one leaves. Now, as an adult, this mother-in-law type is super sweet. She's always polite, but when you actually need her, she disappears. I worked with a family where there were 2 brothers and then their wives were fighting. One was clearly in the wrong, but the mother-in-law would not stand up and put that daughter-in-law in her place, just tell her to knock it off, which left the innocent daughter-in-law feeling very confused, like she couldn't trust her mother-in-law with anything, with her feelings or her kids. Another woman had a husband that would get very vulgar when he drank, and his mom would just sit through and watch him just talk down to her, just horribly berating her at the dinner table. And afterwards, that mother-in-law would say, that's just the way he is. Passive Patty is on everyone's side, which means she's on no one's side. She never screams. She never sends rage-filled texts, but she will babysit, she'll buy gifts, and she will be the fun grandma. Everyone says she's the nicest person. You're so lucky, which makes you feel even more alone. So what is passive Patty called online? A covert narcissist. Why? Well, a covert narcissist uses passivity and martyrdom as a strategy. They'll cry to shut down an argument. They'll say, I guess I just don't matter. And then they'll give you that guilt-soaked sigh right before they slowly walk out of the room, all designed to pull you back in. That's not passive Patty. Remember, she has the emotional brain of a 10-year-old. She's freezing. She's frozen. She's not screaming. Her body reads any form of conflict like danger. It feels like physical danger is imminent. So she has to move. She has to either go limp, go blank, or disappear. But I know it's hard to tell the difference when you're in it. So here are some tells. With a covert narcissist, you feel like a bully when you're doing nothing wrong. But with Patty, you just feel abandoned. You feel like there's no adult in the room. It's just you doing all the heavy lifting. A covert narcissist will stay in the room, giving you sad eyes or silently suffering to force you to come rescue them. Whereas Patty literally vanishes into her shell until the scary feelings go away. She'll go to the kitchen and wash dishes for hours just to avoid any hard conversations. Again, I'm not trying to minimize the impact that she has on you, but calling her something that she's not isn't making anything better. It's only making you suffer more. And before you start thinking, oh, my mother-in-law, she is really good at manipulation. She does do all the things this covert narcissist does. I knew it. Every single one of us has narcissistic tendencies. That doesn't mean we qualify for a clinical diagnosis. It is a spectrum. Our kids are master manipulators. They figure out how to test, push the limits, and get what they want, but we don't think of them as a bunch of narcissists. So just keep that in mind, that your mother-in-law may use tears to get her way because that was one thing that maybe worked on her cold mom, and she's still using that same skill at 62 years old. Okay, there's one more type that I want to talk about before we move on to talk about what actually helps, and this mother-in-law type might be the most painful of them all. This final one doesn't blow up, doesn't nitpick, doesn't even pretend to be on a side. She just doesn't see you, and that hurts in a very different kind of way. It's the mother-in-law that makes you wonder, what's wrong with me? Type number 4 is Frigid Freda, and she is the rejecting mother-in-law, and her emotional age is 0 to 2 years old. We are talking about the very first stage of life. So what in the world could have happened to her that young to keep her this stuck? Well, when we're first born, till about 18 months old, we need our parents to be obsessed with us, present, consistently responsive, no matter what's going wrong in their day. And when we get that steady care, our nervous system learns, oh, I'm really safe when I'm close to someone. But when a baby doesn't get that, let's say there's neglect, coldness, major chaos, or a parent who simply can't connect, their nervous system wires a little bit differently. And unfortunately, that is Frigid Freda's story. One woman I worked with had a mother-in-law like this who barely acknowledged her after she had been married into this family for 17 years. She never remembered her birthday, didn't know her favorite food. She didn't even know where she worked or what she did. Nothing. Another example was a mother-in-law who never called to check in on her grandkids, didn't care to show up at school events, and get-togethers didn't happen unless the daughter-in-law reached out. Hugs from Frigid Freda, they feel really stiff and awkward if they happen at all. She never starts fights. She will not say anything sharp. Being around her honestly feels completely like you're being erased. I commonly hear women with this type of mother-in-law say, I don't know what I did. What's wrong with me? Why doesn't she like me? This mother-in-law is not threatened by her daughter-in-law's power. She's threatened by the demand to show up as a warm grandma or a warm mother-in-law because she is incapable of it. Inside Freda's head is one rule: closeness equals danger. If I let you in, I will get hurt. From your POV, it looks like punishment, games. It looks like she's really showing you your plays, much like a narcissist, but let me explain the difference. With Freda, you feel a cold wall of, I don't care about you. With a true narcissist, you feel devalued. It's not that they don't see you. They see you, and they have decided you are not worthy of their high standards. Freda just wants to be left alone. She's not interested in you. She's not interested in your life. And unfortunately, she's not interested in your kids. If you don't call her, she's not going to call you, and she's going to be just fine, walled off as long as her heart is protected. A narcissist, on the other hand, they will use a cold shoulder as a form of punishment. But if they are being frigid, it's because they want you to come crawling back and ask, What did I do wrong? Even on a good day, Frida's a block of ice. She's cold, but a narcissist, they're hot and cold. They can be charming when they want something and cold when they want you to feel bad. If you have this type of mother-in-law, my hope is that you stop wondering what's wrong with you and accept that she was raised more like a wild wolf and she has zero, I'm talking zero, tolerance for closeness. All right, so now that you have met all 4 mother-in-law types, we have Volcano Vicki, Critical Cathy, Passive Patty, and Frigid Freda. On the outside, these women look completely different, but on the inside, they share one massive secret. Every single one of these mother-in-laws are operating from an emotional toolkit that they built as a small child. They aren't using these moves because they woke up on your wedding day and they decided, I'm gonna make her life a living hell. No, they've been using these same moves for 50, maybe 60 years just to survive in a world that feels very unsafe to them. When they get stressed, the adult part of their brain, the part that pauses, reflects, and just slows down, goes dark. And what's left is a completely stunted nervous system. When they feel threatened, they don't respond, they react, they explode, they control, they vanish, or they shut down. And here's the part that's going to change your life. They are not reacting to you. They are reacting to the old ghosts from their childhood. You're not the problem. You're just a trigger for the problem that's been there for decades. I know this feels deeply personal. It feels like it's aimed right at your heart, but it's not about you. And the moment that you make it about you, you're the only one that suffers because you start to try to fix a woman who doesn't think she's broken. And this leads me to my most important point that most toxic mother-in-law videos never mention. Having compassion for her history doesn't erase your need for boundaries. Understanding that she's a volcano doesn't mean you have to stand in the lava. Let me explain this in a different way. Imagine that you're hiking and you see a dog with its paw caught in a rusted, heavy steel trap. As you walk up to help, the dog doesn't wag its tail. It's not whimpering for a hug. Instead, it's snarling and is lunging at you. It's trying to rip your hand off. In that moment, you don't think, ugh, this dog is a calculated evil genius who has spent all morning planning on how he can bite me. No, you do not take the growling personally. You know this dog is in pain. He's terrified and he's reactively lashing out at anything that moves. Your mother-in-law is that dog, and her steel trap is her childhood trauma, the ghosts of the parents who never taught her how to be safe and how to be regulated as an adult. She's been stuck in that trap for 50 years. So when she picks apart your parenting or has a meltdown over a holiday dish, that's her lunging. It looks like an attack, but actually it's a defensive reflex. She's dysregulated. She's operating from a 3-year-old's toolkit, a 7-year-old's toolkit, or a baby who never learned that closeness was safe. Now, here's a shift that I had to make, and I'm hoping you can make this as well. And this goes for mother-in-laws or anyone in your life that fits the emotional immaturity framework. I learned that I didn't have to run or cut anyone off to get my peace back. In fact, with some of these mother-in-law types, running away actually makes them lunge harder at you. No, I had to stop expecting them to be my safe person because they aren't capable of being that. Creatures trapped can't be logical. And once I accepted that, I was able to stay calm, keep my hands to myself, and never get pulled into their trap with them. I am telling you, once you realize that her lunging at you isn't a reflection of your worth, but it's a reflection of her pain, something incredible happens. You stop reacting and your nervous system stays calm even when hers is screaming. This internal shift, this stepping back, this is your highest form of a boundary. Most people think a boundary has to be a wall, and really it's a knowing. It's knowing where my mother-in-law ends and where I begin. It's you seeing her pain clearly and not picking it up and making it your own. Now, this is not me telling you that you need to expose your kids or yourself to harmful behaviors. No, not at all. I'm just trying to help you understand what drives her so that you will stop taking it personally. Then, and only then, does she lose her power to control your nervous system. No more tensing up when her name is brought up, or dreading the holidays weeks in advance, or replaying the last situation for the 20th time at 2 a.m. Once you accept her and her emotional capacity, she'll never, never be able to impact you the same way again, and you will finally get your peace back. And I'm talking peace in your body, peace in your marriage, and peace in your home. Whew. That was a lot. But remember, at the start, I told you I was going to tell you what staying angry or this mad at your mother-in-law is doing to you, not her. Well, here it is. And this is the part that a lot of those videos skip out on. When you replay a fight over and over and over, and then you retell the story to 3 different people, or when you binge mother-in-law hate videos for hours, your stress hormones, they never get to come back down. Think of it this way. Cortisol is like kryptonite to your Botox. Basically, it accelerates aging at all levels. It is rotting us from the inside out. When we think about something that gets us so upset, our body stresses even if it's just a memory. Like literally, our brain doesn't know if it's happening all over again right now or if we're just replaying something, which means mentally going back to a fight to ruminate about our mother-in-law keeps our body in fight or flight. This is horrific for our health. If you don't remember anything else from this video, just remember high levels of stress means your body is rotting from the inside out. And think about it this way. While you're replaying the fight for the 10th, 20th, 30th time, your mother-in-law, she's at home sipping a lemonade, watching her 2020 reruns, scrolling on her phone. She's fine. She has no idea that her name is wreaking havoc in your body. But here you are, baking, marinating in elevated stress hormones, elevated inflammation, a tight chest, racing thoughts, sleep disturbances, all because her name was brought up at dinner. I have been in your shoes. I know that we think that anger is somehow protecting us and punishing her, but it doesn't touch her. It just burns us. And I know that these videos keep telling us that she's a narcissist and she's evil. She's doing all of this on purpose. She's a mastermind at this. And these videos make us feel less alone. They give us a hint of, okay, I'm not crazy and someone else gets it. But what they're actually doing is keeping our nervous system in that fight long after she's left the room. And if we continue to consume that content day after day, year after year, it's our health, it's our sleep, it's our mood, it's our marriage, and it's our kids' picture of what family feels like that deteriorates. It's not our mother-in-law's. Once you can see her as a woman who never got what she needed, she loses the power to live rent-free in your body. You're allowed to have compassion from where she came from and hold firm boundaries. Both exist at the same time. So which mother-in-law type do you have? Do you have Volcano Vicki, Critical Cathy, Passive Patty, or Frigid Freda? And here's a bonus question I want you to answer. Now that you know which type she is, what's one thing you're going to do different next time her name comes up? For example, think of what your body usually does, like where do you tense up, and think of what you could do instead. Remember, even if your mother-in-law shared some similar characteristics to the true narcissist that I talked about, chances are she's not one. Lots of us share narcissistic traits. It's a spectrum. The difference is most of us grew out of those things, and we built more skills over time. These mother-in-law types, they're stuck. They're caught in the trap of their own childhood trauma. They're emotionally stunted, and that's what keeps them from growing. Lastly, everything I walked you through today is rooted in real research. The 4 mother-in-law types actually came from the clinical framework developed by Dr. Lindsay Gibson. She wrote Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. So if any of this resonated with you, pick up her book and just get familiar with it. The emotional age piece is from Erik Erikson. He developed stages of development. So as therapists, we have to learn his model so that we can understand which age that they're in and what they're trying to work out. And the attachment piece, and I'm actually an attachment-based therapist, specifically Frigid Freda. I'm talking about John Bowlby's work about early bonds and how they shape our nervous system for life. And then there's just like the nearly 15 years I have of experience sitting across from women just like us trying to figure out how to stop their mother-in-law from taking over their brain and their marriage. I'll put those resources below along with my clear formula framework. And this is something I I had to develop. So if you ever hear me talking about scripts and how I say them different, they're attachment based. So you connect first, then you state the limit, then you explain how this is going to benefit them. I made this for emotionally immature family members in my life. And then I started sharing it with clients that I was working with, and it worked. And then I started sharing it online, and now it's helped tens of thousands of people just like us. Please remember, you don't have to keep living in reaction to her. You can understand her, you can set your boundaries, and you can finally get your peace back. And if you're like, well, I've tried to set boundaries and they just do not work with her, next, I'm going to sit with you for over an hour in a masterclass. I'm going to teach you how to set and mind your boundaries without burning down the relationship. Oh, and by the way, just in case I haven't said this, I'm Jess. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm also your boundary big sister. Don't forget to hype this video, and I will see you in the next one.